Tonight, a rise in drink spiking. As students arrive back on campus for another university year, campaigners say the scale of the problem in Scotland is far greater than first feared. Also tonight, Scotland's council leaders say they're concerned that protests outside hotels housing asylum seekers are damaging community cohesion. Inverness Cali Thistle is now out of administration. The beleaguered club has fought its way back into the black under the ownership of Highland businessman Alan Savage. And remember this. Scientists are now asking for our help to find fragments of the meteor that fell in the Highlands in July.
We're hoping the general public and anyone out trying to bag a Munro might help us bag a meteorite at the same time.
I'm Andrea Breimer. This is the STV News at 6, live from Aberdeen. Good evening. Students from across Scotland are leaving home for the first time in the next few weeks to start their further education journey. But they're being urged to remember just how dangerous drink spiking can be. There are concerns about the rise in the number of drinks being spiked in Scotland after figures revealed the problem is far greater than first thought. Campaign group Drink Aware say almost 70,000 adults here have reported being a victim of it in the past year. Here's Oliver Wright.
Today would have been Greg Mackey's 26th birthday. 8 years ago, he died in a drug spiking incident while in university halls of residence with the equivalent of 5 ecstasy tablets. His parents are now leading a campaign to educate young people about spiking and how to keep themselves safe.
It's happening very big in the universities, and our job is to protect the individual, teach them how to protect themselves, show them that it's not something that should happen all the time, and anyone that decides to do it, call them out on it. And
it's not just students the charity are appealing to. They say there's too much inconsistency around how police deal with spiking.
I'm getting these stories from victims where a police officer going, well, I don't really know what to do with this. One girl said the uniform turned up and said, no, we'll get the CID involved right away, very proactive. And we had another victim who said that it took 3 weeks before the police asked for CCTV from the actual venue.
It appears spiking is a growing problem. Recent police figures say there have been around 760 incidents of spiking reported in the last 5 years. But new statistics have revealed there could be around 70,000 Scots that have been spiked in the last year alone. Spiking is a problem many bars are very much alive to. So much so that a lot of places have started handing out things like this. It's a cap that you can put on your bottle, stop anyone slipping something in without you knowing. Students say things like this can make them feel much safer on their night out, but they're not always easy to get your hands on.
I don't think we've really ever been offered the caps and that. I think it's mainly just keeping a hand over our drinks at all time.
I think if I'm in a really busy place, I'm aware to keep my hand kind of over the top of my cup, and some clubs and bars offer the caps.
I guess you feel quite pressured to drink your drinks fast because you don't want to be holding it. You don't want to be on the dance floor walking around. Even at the bar, you're kind of looking.
I would say I normally just keep an eye on my drink. That's all I really know what to do. I don't know what other precautions to really take.
For thousands of students, their university life is just beginning. But drug spiking is a problem that's worrying many, and campaigners say without more action, it won't go away. Oliver Wright, STV News.
Scotland's council leaders say they're concerned that protests outside hotels housing hundreds of asylum seekers are damaging community cohesion. They say the protests are causing fear for those seeking asylum and for local residents, and they warn that racist sentiment, violence and intimidation are becoming commonplace. Well, our political editor Colin Mackay has been speaking to council leaders. Colin, what have they been saying?
Well, after the last meeting of all 32 council leaders from right across Scotland, they made their concerns absolutely clear. COSLA President Shona Morrison, who's from Murray, said there's growing concern about the rise in protests, and we've seen them in Aberdeenshire, in Perth and in Falkirk. She says these protests and misinformation online are increasing divisions in communities. I spoke to COSLA's community wellbeing spokesperson, Councillor Maureen Chalmers, and she said that people in asylum hotels are scared.
It's really upsetting for communities, it's really distressing, and I think people often feel, what we're hearing across social media is that people believe that there are hundreds of people seeking asylum in their community and that many of them are criminals, or they're creating havoc, they're a risk to their community, and that's just not accurate, but in social media that's what comes across.
The Conservatives held a debate on this in Parliament. Craig Hoy, their spokesperson, said if illegal immigrants are going to the front of the queue for accommodation, it's inevitable this will cause resentment. Is that what's happening?
No, it's totally inaccurate. The people who seek asylum in the UK are supported by the Home Office. Their accommodation is secured and funded by the Home Office, so it doesn't impact on local government housing allocations. When people are given refugee status, they then join the homelessness accommodation list and they're in the same queues as everyone else based on need.
So do you think people are wrong to be protesting outside these hotels?
I've spent some time with people who have been seeking asylum here, particularly in recent weeks, and they're terrified. They're already coming here because they're escaping from war and oppression and torture, and we should be giving them some kind of asylum when they're here that's trauma informed. So being in a hotel amongst a whole load of people you don't know, and then looking out your windows and seeing members of the community, and sometimes people coming from out with the community, who are demonstrating and shouting obscenities and with posters, it's just awful. It's just traumatising people again.
Now, there are about 6,000 asylum seekers across Scotland. COSLA point out that that's just 0.1% of the population, and she says that councils can manage that number. But she's also concerned at the increasing numbers of flags in councils around the country on lampposts. And she said councils just haven't worked out what to do with them yet. But despite the increasing protests, and you heard her blame some of that on people coming into communities and stirring things up, she maintains that Scotland's still a welcoming country.
From Holyrood, Colin, thank you. A motorcyclist has died in a crash with a camper van in the Highlands. The 59-year-old man died at the scene of the incident on the AH32 near Tornaig in Ross-shire yesterday afternoon. Police are appealing for witnesses. A 12-year-old boy has been treated for serious injuries after being hit by a car in Arbroath. Emergency services were called to Loughlin Street just after 1:30 on Wednesday afternoon. The boy was taken to hospital while the driver of the blue Volkswagen Polo was uninjured. The blades of a Perth wind turbine, which was built less than a year ago, have snapped off and fallen to the ground. Large parts of the structure at the city's Avivia site near the M90 collapsed in the early hours of this morning. No one was injured, and the insurance firm described the incident as some type of engineering fault. It's 100 years since Dundee's world-famous Discovery was designated the first ever Royal Research Ship. In its retirement, the vessel is now a much-loved tourist attraction. But in the decades since, ocean science has only evolved. And now the modern-day RRS Discovery, which is the fourth ship to carry the name, has returned to the city where it all began. Here's Fraser Nichol.
It's Discovery, but not as the city of Discovery might know it. This ship has been from pole to pole, but this weekend it's celebrating a homecoming of sorts in Dundee. And that means the public are getting on board, getting an insight into what makes a modern day research ship. Stuart Mackay has been the captain for 7 years, a job which has taken him around the world.
You see the excitement on the kids' faces when they come in, and do you still get excited? Do you still have that sort of inner excitement when you're out at sea?
Yeah, I do. Certain days, some days it's terror, some days it's... no, I think that being in this particular job, there's a great deal of satisfaction in that we are doing something good. We're doing something for the planet.
After its early Antarctic expeditions with Captain Scott, the original Dundee-built Discovery went on to become a research vessel, gathering information about the environments and ecosystems below the surface of the global ocean.
In the 100 years since the original Discovery became the first Royal Research ship, technology has changed quite a bit. And with our changing climate, the role of marine science has never been more important.
Essentially, the climate is governed by the ocean, depending on whether it's the heat or the carbon that the ocean's recycling. At the moment, we know the ocean is taking up a large amount of the heat and a large amount of the carbon. That might change in the future. How that changes in the future is really critical to what happens to people on land, what happens in terms of the weather people experience, the droughts people experience, the flooding people experience. Very much of that is about understanding the ocean.
A range of events are planned over the next 5 days across the historic RRS Discovery and the current one, celebrating how far we've come in 100 years of ocean research and celebrating the city where it all began. Fraser Nichol, STV News, Dundee.
Such an integral part of Dundee's heritage. Now, pupils at Dundee's Claypots Castle Primary School are hitting all the right notes. 350 youngsters have teamed up with Big Noise Douglas to produce a video celebrating the city's rich tradition of street songs. Backed by Systema Scotland, the project brings Dundee's working-class musical heritage to a new generation, and it's already striking a chord online.
When I sang there at my house, like my gran said, "Oh yeah, I've learned that as well."
So she knew it too?
Yeah.
What was your favourite song?
There's a man in your little wee Mary Ann. The Dundee street songs were were made years and years ago, like in the Victorian times.
It's that connection to different sites around historically in Dundee, and we're very proud of Dundee here in Claypots Castle, and the children have really thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's given them permission to talk in ways that you would normally associate in the playground, but we do try and celebrate our Scottish identity, and we're very proud of that.
Now, some good news. Inverness Cali Thistle is out of administration and under the ownership now of Highland businessman Alan Savage. The club had been plunged into financial difficulty last year. Now, the new owner says the future looks bright for the team and he wants to make Cali Thistle a bigger part of the community. Nicola McCally reports.
Almost a year after entering administration, Cali Thistle are today back in the black. New owner Alan Savage confirmed he now controls 100% of the club and its assets after a lengthy battle to take charge.
I own 100% of the club. The car park, 8 acres of car park are under the club's control. So we've got a bright future. As everybody's aware, we're playing good football.
The prominent Highland businessman, who paid £800,000 for the club in June, says he's pleased with how the team is performing, sitting fourth in the table despite a 5-point deduction after entering administration. And he's keen to bring fans on side, with a place on the board for the Supporters Trust chairman.
There had been a massive disconnect between supporters and the football club, and he saw that as it's hugely important to close that gap. So he engaged very early on.
Alan Savage says he wouldn't stand in the way of any major future investors, but wants the club to be stable and secure. Football aside, he says revenue-generating plans could involve building facilities around the stadium, such as 5-a-side pitches and a conference and music venue. And he also hopes it could become the starting point for the North Coast 500 route. And he wants Cali Thistle to be embraced by the community.
For the well-being of the community, it should be in the centre of it all. The location, as I say, is unique. We've got the Loch Ness Monster, that's unique. There's lots of things that are unique about this football club, but a football club is important to any community, especially a city like Inverness.
It's hoped that today's announcement can herald the start of a new era for Inverness Caledonian Thistle, one where the focus is firmly on the football, but with an eye to the future and securing the club at the heart of the Highland community. Nicola McCally, STV News.
Well, that takes us nicely to sport, and it is great news, isn't it? Because no one wants to see a club go under.
It feels like they're back on the up, building a bit of momentum, and I fancy them for the title this year.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, really.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. Yes, Aberdeen striker Kevin Nisbet said he jumped at the chance to return north after a late window move saw him swap Millwall for the Dons on a 3-year deal. The 28-year-old also hopes to catch the eye of Scotland manager Steve Clarke and add to his tally of 11 international caps. Struggling Aberdeen pointless and bottom host Livingston at Pittodrie tomorrow. A few weeks ago, I was in Romania and said this. But by the same token, apparently, the Aberdeen chairman, Dave Cormack, was going around telling fans that Kevin Nisbet was a done deal and would be announced on Monday. Today, Kevin Nisbet, here and signed on a permanent deal, replied.
I think I was watching the game on BBC and seen yourself, and I was like, I don't know, I phoned my agent and he's like, didn't know about it. It was quite late in the window, to be honest. I think it was when Dave started telling people in Romania that I was signing. I didn't really know anything about it. Then obviously, you know what Dave's like, when he says something, he's a man of his word, and by Monday it was done.
A scoop, or manifesting, who knows? What I do know is Aberdeen need goals, and Nisbet is here to provide them.
Yeah, hopefully, I think that's the aim, to go and get a couple of goals tomorrow and get 3 points. I think that'd be big, but it's not panic stations around here. I think you've seen that last year with how well we started and how badly we got. It's just about trying to get the first win, and I think tomorrow's a massive game, but I think when you're at a club called Aberdeen, the pressure's high, and us players just need to go deal with it.
Jimmy Talleen has watched on as his team have struggled to hit the heights. But with €11 million winger Jesper Karlsson, Nisbet and Stuart Armstrong all ready to go, he hopes they click against visitors Livingston tomorrow.
For us, it's a super important game against Livingston. They have done well, and they are a good team, but I think and I believe we have taken a step now, and with these new signings and some adjustments, I think we can do a good performance now and start winning games.
For the Dons, Christers Tobers is fit. Nicky Devlin is suspended after his red card against Falkirk. Yeah, it certainly is a big game at Pittodrie tomorrow. Another big game in Edinburgh. Dundee United defender Will Ferry says they will respect Hibs when they visit Easter Road tomorrow evening, but he expects United to be good enough to get a result in the capital. Well, Ferry was instrumental in the second and clinching goal in their derby win over Dundee. His long throw caused chaos, which Premiership Player of the Month Ivan Dolcek dispatched for 2-0. While Dundee centre-back Clark Robertson says they've reflected on the defeat at Dens and will make things right with their display against visitors Motherwell tomorrow.
I'm not going to underestimate anything that comes from them, but at the same time, we've got to, kind of back ourselves to go there and do what we know we can do. But I think it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be competitive, it's going to be intense, and that's kind of what we want to bring to the game, is intensity and that competitive nature that I like to think we brought to the derby game.
The longer it goes without a win, like you just want to pick up the first win in the season, and that's all we're trying to do on Saturdays. Try to go in with a clear head, be focused in what we're trying to do and how we want to play, and take the game to Motherwell. And hopefully, if we do those things that we're capable of, we'll come on the right side and come away with our first 3 points. Yeah.
Now, Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers has had his say on the club's summer transfer window and his own future as fans call for changes at boardroom level. Well, supporters are expected to protest against the board this weekend as a result of their summer spending, or lack of it. Stephen Brown has more.
Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers has declared that he would be 100% open to extending his contract despite being left feeling empty following an underwhelming summer transfer window. The manager had openly expressed his frustration at the club's failure to improve the squad before they crashed out of the Champions League at the hands of Kairat Almaty a fortnight ago.
I would love to stay here longer. I've had sort of informal chats with Dermot and with Michael. I haven't an offer yet to think over, and until that comes, then I'm not going to be so arrogant to say, yeah, I want to be here for another 3 years. The club might not want me. So I have to respect that. And until that happens, until there's something serious on a piece of paper, and then I just continue to do my job.
Meanwhile at Ibrox, boss Russell Martin insists any issues with Nicola Raskin are resolved, but revealed the Rangers midfielder is not part of his squad for the visit of Hearts. The 24-year-old Belgium international, who starred for the Light Blues last season, was left out of the goalless Old Firm clash at Ibrox before the international break.
No, he won't be in the squad tomorrow. We have a lot of conversations, as we do with every player. But he's back training with the squad, which is a good step. And now, like every player, really, has a duty to make sure that he earns the trust of all his other teammates and the coaching staff and the staff in the building to help us win football matches. It's the same for every player here.
On top of Rangers welcoming Hearts to Ibrox tomorrow, Falkirk hosts St Mirren and Celtic travel to Kilmarnock on Sunday. Stephen Brown, STV Sport.
Yeah, almost every game in the top flight is absolutely massive tomorrow. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Well, we've made it to another weekend, and Philip's here with the weather forecast. I think everyone hopes for good weather when it comes to the weekend, but you've been keeping an extra special keen eye on the forecast this weekend.
Yes, I am, Andrea. Sunday is the Edinburgh Kilt Walk, the last kilt walk of the year, and I'll be taking part in aid of the STV Children's Appeal. Now, I've managed to complete this year's Glasgow and Aberdeen kilt walks. I didn't manage the Dundee one. Sorry, Dundee. And I, along with everyone else taking part, am wondering what the weather will be like. Well, as per usual, I'm afraid it's not the best news. Things are looking cloudy for most of the day, with temperatures around 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. Thankfully, it does look dry until around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when we'll start to see rain spreading in from the west. So best to bring the waterproofs and a spare pair of socks. A huge good luck to anyone taking part. It's always a lot of fun, no matter the weather. Let's take a look at the forecast.
Outbreaks of ancient sites will gradually settle into an evening of pizza plates al fresco. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, we're remaining in a westerly airflow as we head towards and through the weekend, with low pressure systems circling around each other just to the north of Scotland, giving us some showers at times, some prolonged spells of rain. We get a brief respite overnight Saturday into Sunday, but then comes Sunday, all eyes to the west. This deep area of low pressure finally makes its way across the country, bringing with it thicker cloud, bands of more persistent rain, and also strengthening winds, as you can see by the tightly packed isobars. And we hold on to those strong winds even as we head into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Back to just now though, and as we head into the overnight period, still one or two isolated showers feeding in from the south and the southwest, but overall for many of us it will remain dry overnight. We will see some clear skies developing. Through the early hours of tomorrow morning, more persistent bands of rain start to spread in from the south and the southwest, associated with that occluded front moving through. So where we've got the clear skies, temperatures dropping to lows of around 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. It will be feeling quite chilly. And then tomorrow, first thing in the morning, we'll see that band of persistent rain moving through. It will be quite heavy at times first thing. It does finally clear to the north and the northeast. We've got a brief respite, some dry and brighter conditions mid-morning before further scattered, sometimes quite heavy showers move in later on in the afternoon. Temperatures reaching highs of 15. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Now, think back a couple of months and you might remember seeing footage of a meteorite lighting up our skies. Well, it crashed down in an extremely remote part of Scotland, and now we're being asked to try and find the fragments. Scientists are asking Munro baggers to help them track down the meteorites when they're out and about on the slopes. So I wonder if it's very obvious what they look like, if they're really different from normal rocks. Well, hopefully Finlay can tell us. So I guess hill walkers could be in for a bit of a surprise next time they're out for a hike.
Well, yes, absolutely, Andrea. Now, this sonic boom, it happened in July this year. This is a small meteor crashing into Earth after travelling some 300 million miles. Now, 2 months on, researchers are asking Munro baggers for their help. The UK Fireball Alliance has identified a 20-kilometre fall zone near Dalwhinnie where they think fragments of rock, up to 10 kilograms of it, may have landed. Now, in and amongst the fall zone, there are 3 lochs, a huge boggy area, and of course Ben Alder, one of Scotland's most remote Munros. In fact, the nearest road to it is 10 miles away. So it's not going to be easy to find, as researchers know all too well.
This would be the first meteorite fall in Scotland for over 100 years. The last time this happened was 1917. So we basically had to go out to try and find this thing. Unfortunately for us, it landed in possibly the most challenging place to get to in the entirety of Scotland. We gave it a good go. We searched quite a bit of the fall line, but we never actually got to Ben Alder, where the main mass should be. And that's basically what we're hoping the general public and anyone out trying to bag a Munro might help us bag a meteorite at the same time.
So as Luke said, scientists think that most of the meteor will be at the top of this Munro here, Ben Alder. And this is what you're looking for. It's black and shiny and almost glass-like. Now, experts say they're heavier than they look, and because they could be up to 30% iron, and after all the rainfall we've had, they could be beginning to rust. And they're asking anyone lucky enough to find part of the meteor to use something like a sandwich bag or tin foil to pick it up. And this here is the last meteor to crash into Scotland. It was in 1917 and it's on display in Perth Museum.
So we now know what you're going to be up to this weekend.
Well, after looking at the forecast, I'm not so sure. But hey, if I can get 2 days off next week, maybe I could be convinced.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, the producer's saying nice try, but no chance. Thanks very much, Finlay. So the hunt is on. If you find anything, you must let us know. That's where we'll have to leave it tonight. Good night.